And today we're here really to talk about something that's at the real heart of education in general. Just what does success look like? And how will we know that our children are doing well? And are they thriving? And particularly at kindergarten level, are they thriving, making good progress, reaching those milestones that they need to socially, emotionally, in terms of their self-concept, their self-awareness? Are they laying a solid foundation for reading, writing, numbers, problem solving? Are we teaching them values and responsibility and empathy and caring? There are a whole lot of what one might call soft skills, and in education call those the hidden curriculum. So in education, the written curriculum is the math, science, English curriculum, but there are a whole lot of other things you learn at school. How to play fair, how to say sorry when you upset somebody, how to tidy things up, how not to lose your temper and smack a friend when you feel frustrated, and how do you express those emotions. There's so much in education that we're wanting to teach, and we want to know, how would we assess that? And how would we know that your child's had a successful year, and where are they thriving, where are some of their challenges, and how do we as teachers and you as parents give them that information that they need to succeed. You might have read my newsletter last week, but Novak Djokovic is the finest tennis player in the world. No one plays tennis better than Djokovic. He's not number one now, but the point is, he's the world's best tennis player. But every Monday morning after a tournament, he meets with his coach, and his coach gives him feedback. And his coach is watching, I don't know, how many shots he played, and did he drop his shoulder, and did he hit like this or that, or did he turn, and we'll have a whole lot of information he's gathering, and that feedback enables him to improve. And that's how he remains the world number one. And if the world number one sports person needs that, so too all of us need that feedback. And there's really solid research to show that the feedback we give to children really inspires their next steps in learning. And the fear of failure of a test is not often a good way to get feedback for improvement. A good way to get feedback for improvement is say, you're working on area and perimeter, and I can see you've understood these concepts for area and perimeter, but you've actually got to work on this and this, and I can see where you made a mistake. That's a common mistake, that's okay. You haven't mastered it yet, but you're going to get it right. And so at Green School, we're very strong in what we call a growth mindset philosophy, to say some things come easily, some are difficult, and they take time to master, and that's okay. You haven't mastered yet. And Esme talks with great eloquence about just learning from mistakes and allow children to make mistakes and to think, I think so much of our education was mistakes were bad. Don't want to make a mistake. And there's a fear of making mistakes, but you will never ride your bicycle if you don't fall off. You'll never play golf if you don't hit a few bad shots. You'll never play the violin if there are not a couple of squeaks. So it's learning from your successes as well as your failures that is part of that learning journey. And we've got a passionate learning team or teaching team in Kindy, and I'd like to hand over to Mikayla just to share how do we assess children's progress and how do we celebrate learning in Kindy. Just an apology, I've got a 9 o'clock meeting, so I'll be with you for a while, then I'm going to slip out.
Goeiemôre almal, dis so lekker om julle te sien.
Welkom.
I made notes this time because last time the technology in our fort had a big fight, so I was not taking any chances today. Notes here, everywhere. But anyway, I just out of interest, what comes to mind when you hear assessment? Anyone else?
Crip notes.
Good notes, For me, it's anxiety. I used to get really bad test anxiety and stuff growing up. I used to not sleep the night before, stomach pains, all that. Why is that? Why is assessment such a scary thing, And I think I try to think about it a little bit as I was putting this talk together, and I think it's that fear of being judged by your work or by something that you do. It's that judgment, Everyone's going to think that I'm a terrible person if I do bad on this test or whatever. I think it's just that fear of being judged. And we are trying very hard in Green School to change that and to not have that fear anymore and not have that anxiety. Okay, so let's get right into it. Why do we assess? I think that there's a big misunderstanding when we say we follow a play-based curriculum that we don't assess at all, that it's just free-for-all all the time. It is not. We definitely assess. In fact, assessment is vital to our learning journey and to being able to it guides our planning. So if we don't assess, then we don't know where to go, So it helps us to really understand and build relationships with the child, because you can see where their gaps are, what they're struggling with, what they're really good at, and so that you can build a plan going forward from that and really meet them where they are. Obviously, children all develop especially relevant in kindy, because we have at that age still, the age gap makes a big difference. So for example, in my class, I've got 3 children that were born before the middle of the year. The rest are all November, December babies, and that makes a big difference. We can't, just make everyone take the same kind of assessment and expect the same time, same place, expect everyone to do the same, because they're not all in the same place. So we really need to take that into consideration. And then obviously it makes the learning visible to both the parents and to the educators, because we can see where did they sort of start and where have they gotten to, how have they progressed. And then also to tap into their interests. That's the best part of assessment, because you really get to see what they love and how you can make learning fun and exciting for them. But I think the main point just of assessment is that we don't, in our like active and play-based environment, there's lots of other important skills that we need to learn. It's not just maths and language. There's lots of things, like social emotional awareness and critical thinking and just sharing independence. That's I think the biggest one for us. Independence, empathy, and self-regulating skills. And those are sometimes a little bit harder to assess or to see than some of the other skills. So we need to, in this way, with the way that we are trying to assess in kindy, it's a little bit more that we're looking at the whole child and not just a small little bit of what I can do, what I can't do. So we're trying to make it a little bit more holistic, especially for Amy. Okay, the power of yet. I know Esme spoke a lot about this, but a very important aspect of our assessment is that we need to ensure that we are trying to get them to have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. And so obviously our assessments need to stimulate this. So we need to, what this means is that we try to help them to accept failure and that it's not a bad thing. In fact, when you fail, when you make mistakes, that's when your brain is growing. It's so important, try something new, even if you're not going to be good at it the first time. That's so important, and we praise the process. We don't always say, oh, you're the smartest, you're the best at this. We say, I can see you trying hard. I can see you working so hard at that. Well done, and not just looking at the end result all the time, but really just taking a step back and helping them to see how far they've come, even if the end wasn't perfect, And as we were saying, they take away erasers in primary, and we actually started to trial that a little bit in kindy as well. Not that we really do much work that requires an eraser, but you see their eyes like, I can't erase, why? And I thought, it's good to make mistakes, just cross it out, it's fine, it doesn't have to look perfect. And it's a mindset we really want to instill from young, to show that it's fine to show your mistakes. Please do, that's how we know that you're learning and growing. So we always say, I can't do this yet, the power of yet. I'm not good at this yet. I don't understand this yet. It doesn't work yet. It doesn't make sense yet. But you'll get there eventually if you keep working at it. Yet. Okay, so another common myth in play-based education is that we kind of settle for any work. Oh, as long as it was fun, it's fine. As long as it was process-based, it's fine. That is true to a small percent. That obviously we do focus more on the process and not the product, but we still want them to do their best. Obviously, we want them to be able to, to succeed as much as they can. So I don't know if anyone's ever seen Austin's Butterfly. So it's a child, not in my class, but named Austin, and he was tasked with this drawing of a scientific drawing of a butterfly. And he looked at the picture, and this was his first attempt here. So, and then what happened is the teacher called them all around and said, what can we do to help Austin? Can anyone think, how can we help him to do his best drawing of the butterfly? And they gave him constructive and kind criticism. I think the teacher really had to emphasize that we use kind words and not, you're this ugly! Which sometimes happens in kindy. But slowly the teacher would kind of guide them a little bit and help them say, and they would say things like, maybe if you made the wings a little bit more pointy. Maybe if you changed the shape a little bit. And then as you can see, he did 6 drawings. And this is the last one. And this is a 6-year-old child. So it just really shows the power of just of reflection and just trying your best and constructive criticism and feedback. So obviously this is a lot more aimed at grade R, not so much the younger classes, but we try as hard as we can in the class to get them to make reflection part of their daily, like, habitual practice. Because, and often you can see that they'll do something and you say to them, was that your best work? No. And they know immediately, okay, we're going to try again. You know, we want to instill that feeling of success within them. We want them to succeed and to do their best. It's not just whatever we do is fine. We want them to succeed. So we do try, after all of our projects and stuff, to sit together and try help each other. What can we do to improve? Can we change something? Could we have done something better? And in grade 1, actually that's going to become from grade 1, and that becomes part of their reports. They have a section in the reports where they set their own goals, and then they give feedback and reflection on how it's going. Isn't that so amazing? Hey, I wish I'd had that as a child, being able to set goals and be able to realize them and reflect back and think, sure, I really didn't do that so well. I could have changed this or that, and I think that's fantastic. So, so that's just a little, just put my point across. Okay, so how do we assess? We really want our assessment to be real, and that means that we need to assess in context. So this means that we don't just schedule a time and a place for all assessments. In a couple of the last government schools that I worked at, it's just, we were teaching all the time around assessment, ticking those boxes. Everything is planned around assessment. And that's not real learning. You know, if a child can do something on a map, doesn't necessarily mean that they can take it into real life and apply that knowledge, and that's what we're trying to aim for. So this means obviously that we don't schedule a time, but that we are always looking for opportunities to assess. We always have our eyes open. We're always taking notes. And we put out specific play prompts. If there's something that we're looking for and we're not sure that the child has met a certain goal or skill, we'll put out play prompts for them to be able to engage with that so that we can see where they are in that. For example, I had a child in my class, and we did like a bear share division type activity on the mat, and we had 3 teddy bears and we had some grapes, and then they had to share it between the bears, you know. And this child, he just could not get it, and he was just so upset about it. I said, don't worry, we just playing, we just having fun. The next day we had a snack, and he came, he's very hungry, he wants some more snack. I said, there's not enough for everyone. There's only 2 left. And now there's 3 children that want, or 3 or 4, I can't remember, a couple of kids. And then he came with the solutions. We can do this, we can do this, we can cut this, we can add this. Tick. Okay, he can understand it, he can apply it in real life. He couldn't do it there with everyone's eyes on him. We were in circle time, and obviously he felt a little bit of pressure. And so I realized, okay, that was not an ideal situation for him. But he can do it. He can absolutely do it. Or we create opportunities. So like when we're handing out whiteboards, I will say to a child, can you please hand out the whiteboards for me today? But then I'll strategically hide some. And then it's short. Oh no, we don't have enough. Oh, how many are we short? And then they're counting quickly. This many. Okay, let's quickly have a look. And then they hand them out. So how many did we have all together? Maths, but they don't know they're doing maths. They think, fantastic, I'm so clever. But it's not, we're not sitting, it's a little bit more intimidating, I think, sometimes when you're sitting on a mat and it's this, plus this, minus this, whatever. But they can do it in real life. So we try to set up ways that it doesn't feel so, intimidating. Thank you, Cindy. Or even, I know we don't assess mindfulness, but it's so special for me to see. We do mindfulness and we do breathing, 5-finger breathing, sharky breaths, all of that. And I saw just this week, when the kids get into a tough situation and they're like, and I'm just like, they're applying the knowledge, that's what you want to see. Morning! It's so special to see. Oh, okay. Alright, so the types of assessments that we do assessment for learning. So this is what I was talking about, how we assess before we sort of start our learning journey, and we actually do this constantly to see where they're at, what they know, where we can carry on from. Then we have assessment of learning, which is a summative assessment, and that's obviously a more sort of end result, like the reports we'd look at. And then we have assessment as learning, which is for us the most important, and that mostly involves them actually assessing themselves and saying, how am I doing? That's where the reflection and all of that comes in. How am I doing? How could I do better? What could I change? And that's, yeah, so that's our daily practice and the assessment we do every day. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, just to give you a little glimpse at the background kind of scene, we do have a yearly scope and sequence. So what that is, these are all the milestones that we would want to try and reach within the whole year. And then we take these out and then put them into our planning. So we've taken the curriculums of like Green School Bali, we've looked at EYFS from the UK, we looked at Reggio Emilia, obviously CAPS, we have to check that we are in line with CAPS as well, or just meeting all of the standards, and then also some of the American curriculums, and we've kind of taken the best from all of them and we've compiled the scope and sequence. And now, so in grade R we'll have, okay, so this is mathematical development, but we have a category for physical development, social, emotional, language development, mathematical, creative awareness, and then environmental awareness. And it is a little bit different from the 3 to 5. They have the same. Do one of you want to maybe talk about the 3 to 5s a little bit? So it's the same as this, but they only have 3 categories. It's social, emotional, okay? Language, communication and language, and physical development.
And then calculus and astrophysics.
So, and then obviously in the physical would be the gross motor, fine motor and all of that, because that's extremely important for them to go forward and work with the fine motor skills and pencil grip and all that. But theirs is the same from age 3 to 5, because obviously not all of the kids reach all the milestones in 1 year. At that age especially, they all are working at different paces. So that's from age 3 to 5, and then this one is grade R. So then we take this yearly scope and sequence, and then this will feed into our assessments and into our curriculum and all of that. So just so that you know, there is really a lot of thought that's gone into that, and a lot of behind the scenes work.
And I think also, if I can say something about especially the communication and language, it's not that we don't look at creative expression and maths and English. We introduce all the language, like this is less, this is more, let's add, let's take away. So we're starting to introduce that mathematical language. So then when they get into grade R, they've heard that and they understand what it looks like practically. So we'll put that into their reports. So-and-so uses this language when playing. And so you as parents can see we're not totally ruling it out, but we're building it into those 3 foundational prime areas of physical development, communication, language, and social emotional.
Okay, so now the exciting part. What does assessment look like in Kindy? Because I know it's hard sometimes we talk up here, but it's nice to see like on the ground, how it actually works. So in Kindy, anything and everything can be an assessment. We are always looking at keeping our eyes open to see what the kids are capable of, what they're doing. So I'm saying not just teacher-led activities in the classroom. Their free play is actually 100% or 100 times more where we look for it, because that's where they're applying the knowledge, like I said. So that means they're doing it in context, and they're taking that knowledge they've learned in the classroom and using it outside. And to me, that's the whole point of maths, is to problem solve. So when I see them problem solving outside, to me that's so much more valuable than counting to 20 on the mat, Okay, so there's just a couple of examples here. Here in Carly's class, they were learning about tadpoles, and they did the entire life, tadpoles, frogs, did the entire life cycle of a frog, and they drew every phase, and then the teachers helped them to write what was happening. So obviously she can see immediately that they know what's going on, even down to like when they get a tail and when they lose their tail, when they get their legs, all of those things. These are the little 3 to 4 year olds. Look at this amazing thing that they've built. Right there we can see that they're thinking of ideas, they are problem solving, they're collaborating, they're thinking of ways to solve problems, And they could tell us exactly what was going on there. This is the kitchen, this is the TV, he's making dinner here. It was just amazing. Make a square here, so I can see they know shapes. You know, there's all sorts of things happening there that you definitely couldn't plan for. Oh, I love this. This is amazing. So here, this is a car that some of the grade R's made, that they collaborated and made together. And I can't even tell you how amazing it was. They were working together, testing their theories, designing it, they drew plans, whatever. And what the best thing, the one child says to the other child, let's keep going until it works. Let's keep working at it until it works. And I was just like, yes, keep going. But it's hard, you know, they're picking up the tires and carrying it, proprioceptive inputs, all of these things. And building it, I mean, I couldn't have built that. Obviously, I have like no engineering brain or anything, but it was amazing. And then they were like moving it back and forward. I was so impressed. Yeah, so already you can see a whole range of mathematical skills being learned there. And they're testing their ideas, they're making predictions, they're developing ideas in groups, sequences, learning cause and effect, all these things. Little mathematicians. Oh, yeah, and this was also so special. So we had learned about, we were doing self-portraits and stuff in class, and we had learned about obviously proportions and what all the body parts that you have, healthy living, all of those things. And afterwards the kids went outside by themselves in playtime, no prompts, and they made these little mud families. Just tons of them, all of them. And I mean, in class some of them are drawing like stick figures, but then look at this, look at those legs, look at those arms. I was like, wow, it's amazing, you know. And that was pleasing to them. It was in a way that they wanted to do it. It wasn't me telling them what to do. And immediately I can see, they know, you know, body parts, they know proportions and all of that. It was so special. And then we were doing like 3D shapes and building 3D shapes out of bamboo and all of that. I mean, obviously you can see the range of skills going in there. Fine motor skills with trying to tie, holding it together, working together. Obviously they know their shapes and they'll never forget that, you know, a cube. We're all sitting inside the cube. I mean, that's, yeah, I think it's what's up. And then, again, look at these structures that they're building. So I actually put this on Class Dojo. I said that the grade R's constantly surprise us with their attention to detail and their ability to problem solve. They make predictions and test out their theories on a daily basis, putting their knowledge into practice when needed. So that, I mean, look at these structures. Look at that, this is amazing. And they first of all, they've dug these trenches. And then so I can see, I mean, and this was a pole going into the tree, and then they'd taken the big logs and I'd stacked it up to make a stairway into the tree. Was it very safe? Not really. Were we very nervous? Yes, we were. But I mean, they would sort of start to walk up a bit, and they still a bit wobbly. Okay, then they're getting other little stumps to stable it and all. It was amazing. It was really amazing to see. Yeah. And then another little structure that they've made here. They were making homes for tadpoles and all of those things. So you can see they're initiating activities, seeking challenge, showing a can-do attitude. These things are so important. This is what Kindy is about. You know, there's lots of time to go into the more rigid assessment and those kind of things in the older grades, but this is what's important here, and it's really happening. In fact, I have to tell you, I had my brother's kids come to visit, and he's got 4 kids, and they came to play in Kindy for an hour. They came to look at the school and everything. They didn't have a clue what to do. Because they're so used to people telling them all the time, and they came over playtime and what must we do now? And everyone is playing and digging and making amazing things. I'm like, look how much stuff there's to do, but they're not used to initiating and problem solving and doing their own things, you know. They have to be told what to do all the time, and it's sad. It's a real like dying off. These kids are really amazing. Okay, and then obviously we work with a lot of manipulative, so it's quite easy to see when they understand things and when they don't, and I think it makes it much easier for them to understand as well when they're holding things and they can hold it in their hands. Here we were doing we were learning about habitats, and then they planned their own habitat and built it, and then I can see with the way that they interact with the animals in the habitats and the vocabulary they're using, they understand what's going on. They're so engaged in it. They'll never forget that, you know, which animals belong where and those kind of things. It was amazing. And then obviously the mud kitchens and stuff, that is amazing. They're using all kinds of mathematical language. They're measuring things, they're scooping up. I've got half. Mine is heavier than yours, heavier, lighter, mass, all of these things. In play, you know, they're getting all of these things through play. We had an interesting experience the other day where we were learning about the Big Five, and the kids were all excited and stuff, and then we had a couple of questions, and the topic sort of veered to the left and started talking about poachers and all sorts, and we're like, oh, okay. And they became very interested in poachers and why people are hunting our animals, and then they got it together in a swoop and went together to the table and started making anti-poaching posters for us to post to the poachers and stick up in the mountains. They told us, and it's all like, and they're telling me how do they spell this, how do they write this? No killing. I will chop your guns up. All these things. I'm just like, yeah, it got quite intense. And Danielle and I were like, should we veer this away? Shouldn't we? But they were very passionate about it. And you know what? They were all sitting there, writing, learning how to write. And that was self-initiated, intrinsic. I couldn't have manufactured that, saying, come, let's all sit and write A, B, C. They were doing it themselves, and they wanted to do it, and they stayed there until it was finished. And they finished all that. All of them had written a whole little piece about doing nasty things to poachers. But still, to see their passion, and that's something that they were so passionate about. And I was like, oh wow, okay. Hopefully they never meet a poacher. And then, obviously, when we document things, it's very easy to see the progress. So you can see here, this was term 1. And term 2, all of these, I'll put these into the reports, and you can see the self-portraits from term 1 and term 2, how much they've improved. You see, it's amazing. So our documentation obviously helps a lot, and that's why we love Cross Dojo, because then you can go back and see, where did my child start, and are they improving? And it's all the pictures together, and you can see, it's so, it's magnificent to see when you put it together. But sometimes on the gradually you don't think that they're actually improving, but they really are. They're making massive steps, Okay, so how do we keep records? We have, all of us make observation notes daily. We take lots of pictures, as I'm sure you've seen, and documented on Class Dojo. We have a continuous assessment tracker, which I'll show you now. And then we have our reports, obviously, in term 2 and term 4. And then we have got our learner-led conferences in term 3, where we invite you to just have a little window into our circle times, which is always very special. And then the learners share their reflections in groups daily. I'm talking, that's mostly in grade R, but they start slowly in the other classes, I'm sure, where it's not as formal. So let me show you the assessment tracker quickly. So you don't see this. We have this obviously for ourselves, but all of those things in the scope and sequence, we will have them here, and so we've got a key of mastering, developing, and not yet. And throughout the year, we will make notes as we see it, and we'll mark off, yes, they can do this. They're not there yet, they're not quite there yet, they're developing, and then throughout the year we can see, and then we'll put that into the report. So it's a little bit different in the 3 to 5s as it is in grade R, obviously, but the sort of concept is the same. And then in our reports we have, we've just started our I can statements, so you might have seen that in the last report. So we kind of show you what can they do, and then there's things they're not there yet, and the goals that you can work on with them a little bit. Now, Cindy has let me put this in. She's put a little disclaimer sort of on hers, and it says what I have mastered in the I can. She just says, just keep in mind that this is the ability of a 4-year-old. Your child is still working towards perfection, but currently they're at the stage of introducing and practicing the skills. So when you see a child in the 3 to 4-year-old class and he says they're cutting well, that's at a 4-year-old level. She's not meaning at a grade R level or at a grade 3 level. She means for their age, they're on par. Am I right?
Yeah, and what we can also say there is, what we usually do is we give dots or write ragmerkies. So, but if there's a dot, although it was assessed in the from the first to the second term, we continue seeing whether the dot changes into a tick. Yeah. So those are the spaces where we want them to be. They must, I can, all of those.
Yeah.
Work towards that. So the assessment always open.
Yeah.
So we continually go back and try and just check whether those dots have become ticks in the meantime.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, and I think that is the last one. So are there any comments, questions, reflections, perhaps?
Just a round of applause. Yeah.